Good morning. It's Tuesday and it's 11 a.m., which means it's time for the FIU Music Hour on WDNA 88.9 FM, presenting live weekly performances in the WDNA Jazz Gallery, featuring students, faculty, and alumni from Florida International University's School of Music. I'm your host today, Zach Weinstein, and along with our producers Karen Velos and Rodolfo Zuniga, we'd like to welcome you to the FIU Music Hour. Whether you're listening to us live in your car or live on WDNA.org/FIU, we're delighted to have you join us today for our live performance. Before I introduce today's performers, it's a special day because it's the first of our spring membership drive. I'm joined today by the FIU Jazz Combo 1 studio under the direction of Professor Gary Campbell. We're here to ask you to consider what the station means to you, and then to put a dollar value on it, because listener support is what makes quality, non-commercial programming possible. Please call with your support at 305-662-8889 or go to WDNA.org. We have a $400 goal today, and we'd love to see it happen by the end of today's broadcast. Today's repertoire will be a mix of originals and jazz standards played by AJ Lopez-Lima on guitar, Charlemagne Sands on bass, and our very own Rodolfo Zuniga as a special guest on drums. And now, here is Jazz Combo 1, playing Barbados by Charlie Parker. And that was Barbados by Charlie Parker. Thank you for joining us on the FIU Music Hour at WDNA and the first day of our spring membership drive. Some folks don't give because they feel the amount they can donate is too small to matter. But the beauty of community radio is that every donation counts because together, donations add up to be a very critical part of WDNA's operating budget. A gift of $5 combined with the gift of others is what makes WDNA possible. So please give what works for you and donate at 305-662-8889 or at WDNA.org. Again, we have a $400 goal, so let's meet it today. Now, after that fun little segment, let's hear another segment. This is Segment by Charlie Parker. And that was Segment by Charlie Parker, with a very intense drum solo by Rodolfo Zuniga. If you're just joining us, welcome to the FIU Music Hour. We are here today with FIU Jazz Combo, one under the direction of Gary Campbell. You have AJ Lopez-Lima on guitar, Charlemagne Sands on bass, and our very own Rodolfo Zuniga as a special guest on drums. Now we'll hear Crepuscule with Nelly by Thelonious Monk. And that was Crepuscule with Nelly by Thelonious Monk. Thank you, David, for that generous donation. We're almost halfway through our goal. We need $300 more, and that's only 3 different donations of $100. Again, please feel free to donate at 305-662-8889 or give online at WDNA.org. Next, we're going to hear We See by Thelonious Monk. And that was We See by Thelonious Monk. This is the FIU Music Hour on WDNA 88.9 FM with the FIU Jazz Combo 1 studio under the direction of Professor Gary Campbell. You're also joining us for the Spring Membership Drive. So please feel free to donate at 305-662-8889 or go online at WDNA.org. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay tuned. We are back with the FIU Music Hour and FIU Jazz Combo 1 studio under the direction of Professor Gary Campbell on WDNA 88.9 FM. You listen and stream the FIU Music Hour to stay in the know with up-and-coming jazz artists. Some of these artists may even be family. We're excited to be safely, gradually returning to live performances here in the Jazz Gallery, featuring the incredible talents of FIU students, faculty, and alumni. We've also been glad to bring you great performances from our archives throughout the pandemic. Thanks to WDNA, these performances are audio and video recorded and archived. Because you value a space on the radio for up-and-coming artists, please make a donation and support this station. Call 305-662-8889 or give online at WDNA.org. Now I have Professor Gary Campbell joining me. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Morning, Zach. I'm fine.
So, just out of curiosity, what concepts are you working on with this ensemble this semester?
Well, the concepts are contained in the repertoire. I mean, they're very proactive, and this is the way it should be. Especially AJ, a.k.a. Armando, is very active in learning tunes, and especially these monk tunes, which are great repertoire, and some other things, Charlie Parker tunes, some standards. But the concept is to learn to play these tunes in the character in which they're intended to be, based on the tune itself. And monk is a great place to do that, because these Thelonious Monk's songs all have a very distinct character to them, and to be able to play the idiomatically appropriate way of playing the song itself, and then improvise or not improvise solos in that character. This is important. So, because it's, my concept is learn repertoire, stay in that framework, listen, and then, as I said, play that composition, rather than just run through a lot of material and then improvise in a generic type of fashion, playing whatever vocabulary you happen to know at that time. I mean, the vocabulary should emanate from your study and playing of the repertoire. And that's what they're doing here. This is great. And it gives it, honesty and authenticity and musical strength, and allows the musicians to play with confidence, because they're familiar with the language of what the repertoire is in the music they're playing. Yeah,
I can really feel the authenticity coming out of their improv and the work that they're playing, and I really appreciate it from the host perspective, and I'm sure the audience really appreciates it as well.
Sure. I mean, when you listen to some music, you want to hear something that has a character to it, and doesn't just become a generic kind of wandering kind of deal, because that gets boring, and it's not really, not really saying anything in particular. It's too vague. So no matter at what level whether you're a musician or whether you're just a casual listener or whether you're new to jazz music, it's important to play with definition, and intention.
Everything needs to have a purpose, I feel.
Sure.
I know you emphasize and encourage your students to compose as well. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, that's the next stage, is as you discover the repertoire in the jazz idiom and how to play that. And it's kind of a thing that happens unconsciously to some degree. Things that you like, certain sounds that you like, or moods, or type of constructions, from the tunes that you play, that like the monk tunes or bird tunes or whatever. And then from that, then you can start constructing your own compositions based on, on the things that you've grown to favor, or the things what you like. rather than just studying like as a composition study that's you're just drawing things out of the air. I mean, that's another thing, but I think it has stronger to find out what your preferences are musically through playing repertoire, the good repertoire from the idiom, and then going beyond that, in other words, kind of refining that for your own purposes, learning how to make a framework for the music that you're playing so that you can, sound your best and have fun playing the music and be comfortable playing your own, because it's yours, And then you can develop from that. And of course, that over the course of years, that evolves, and playing with other good musicians, they contribute to that as well. So, yes, but I do encourage them to, write music of their own. This is the first semester, really, or the first year that we've worked with this particular combination. And so that's still kind of a new thing that's starting to evolve about writing compositions. But, in the past, you probably remember last year we had another great guitarist from FIU, Sergio Zavala, who graduated, and he had already really become quite a composer in his own right, writing his own repertoire, going through the same process that AJ and Charlemagne are doing now. So this is just more of it,
Do you have a personal preference on the kind of instrument you compose on, whether it's guitar or piano?
Well, I like to write. I'm a saxophonist. I play mostly tenor, soprano, and some soprano saxophone. And I like to write based on that because it's a melody instrument. And I learned over the years that as a melody player, of course, that means the melody is important and it has to feel good and sound good and be fun to play. Have to get some gratification from playing the melody. And so I like to write based on that. Now I have the piano to orchestrate or harmonize the melody. But generally speaking, for my own purposes, it's a combination, really. The melody, ideally the melody first, or at least start with the melody and then listen to that and imagine what kind of harmony you would like to have under that to give the notes of the melody certain characters, different degrees of consonance or dissonance, and all the other, colors of harmony, and then compose. So it becomes a combination, but it has to be a combination. Otherwise, you write stuff that you get to the end of it, and then you say, wait a minute, I don't like this that much, or, it's not fun to play on this. It's become too tedious, or it's too difficult because I was starting to go down a rabbit hole of, playing too many chords and getting too involved in all that and lost the whole sense of that being a tune, So I can't say, I'm not a good pianist either, which helps me from getting too distracted by the piano. So I know I've heard some horn players who write music that sounds like they wrote it at the piano because they can play piano too well. It's too easy to get into the piano as a composing center rather than your own voice, which in my case would be the saxophone or whatever your instrument is. So it's a personal thing with everybody. Obviously, this is a challenge. Like AJ has gotten into this Monk thing, and those are very distinctive tunes, but written by Thelonious Monk on the piano.
Yeah.
And there's a few groups that he had that express his music better than some of the other groups. So you listen to them and learn how they played his music and made it sound like him. Plus, he recorded many solo piano records, which are very enlightening because you can hear it purely from him. And then how the groups managed to play it, whether the saxophonist was Charlie Rouse or which was one of my favorites, or Johnny Griffin or Sonny Rollins or Coltrane. It sounds different with different horn players, but certain of them really capture the character of the monk music more genuinely than others, I think. I'm not authority. I don't have any say in that. But anyway, so then when they play these monk tunes, and a guitar is quite different than the piano. And I think AJ's doing great, like with that Crepuscule that they played a little early. It's a very complicated song, really. And it's not really a song that you improvise on, particularly. I mean, you play the tune, it's so full of stuff, and so rich. What are you going to do after that? Say, okay, now we're going to do the blowing, and then go in and play a bunch of vocabulary that has nothing to do with where you just were for the last 4 minutes, So if you can't come up with something, then don't blow on the tune. Just play the tune the way it should sound,
Absolutely.
I mean, and some people have managed to take, let's say, Thelonious Monk's music and give it a spin of their own. Quite often that becomes kind of a disaster, and a lot of the greats have avoided that. I think one of the good examples is like McCoy Tyner was very good at playing Monk's music, because that Monk was one of his idols, so very much influenced, and knew how to translate that to the way he played the piano. But guitar, as I said, guitar is very different, and so it's a real education for AJ to play these songs on a guitar and get the character out. So far, I think he's doing a great job, and that then he, through doing that, develops technique to be able to do that. I mean, you learn about the instrument and about the music being one thing and how to do that. I mean, it's a very rich way to go,
Well, Professor Campbell, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for having your studio here with us as well.
Well, my pleasure.
I'm very excited. Next, we get to hear more Thelonious Monk. Here's Nutty by Thelonious Monk. And that was Nutty by Thelonious Monk. Consider a donation today of $120 or $10 a month. We'll thank you with our brand new Alone Together t-shirt. It comes in 2 calm colors, pale blue and creamy pale yellow. The theme of the design was inspired by listeners who have shared how much listening to WDNA helped them through the isolation and challenges of the pandemic. And of course, it's a nod to the jazz classic Alone Together, all designed by Miami-based artist Lucy Burrows. Donate $120 or $10 a month online at WDNA.org or on the phone at 305-662-8889. Please help us with our spring membership drive. Next, we're going to hear Rhythmaning by Thelonious Monk. was Rhythmaning. Oh, sorry. I apologize for cutting you off. I'm so sorry. That was Rhythmaning by Thelonious Monk. You've been listening to the FIU Music Hour on WDNA 88.9 FM. I've been your host, Zach Weinstein, and along with our producers, Karen Velos and Rodolfo Zuniga, we'd like to thank our production crew and the staff of WDNA 88.9 FM for today's broadcast. If you'd like more information on all of our programs, make sure to call 305-384-2896 or simply like our Facebook page to stay up to date with all of our upcoming performances. Folks listen to WDNA from all over the United States. Judy and Carl streamed from Asheville, North Carolina, and left us a comment recently when they donated online. They said, "Thank you for being a part of our sanity during the COVID crisis. Keep up the great work of being music ambassadors for the world and our little blue planet. With love and gratitude, Judy and Carl." Please join Judy, Carl, and all the folks who have donated. Make your own contribution. Do it for the first time. We're counting on you. Please call 305-662-8889 or go to WDNA.org and donate today. Next week, join us again here at 11 a.m. for some more great music on the FIU Music Hour. To play us out is the FIU Jazz Combo 1 playing Take the Coltrane by Coltrane.